Raid Shadow Legend Stu here with a guide on Occult Brawler. I just got him up to 60 just yesterday. Did his Masteries yesterday and today. Finished it out, so we are good to go. Let's get this video started. This is kind of, I put a second window, if you can see up here on the top right. I don't know how it's going to look on a small device, so if this does not work out, please let me know in the comments below if you cannot see everything clearly, and I'll make sure I never do this again. Because just to save time, I wanted to show Occult Brawler. This is Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, and I wanted to show him in a Dragon's run and an Ice Golems 20 run, just to see if he's any good at doing something else besides the Clan Boss, right? Because he doesn't have a lot of options. Now he's replacing my Steel Skull. My Steel Skull gear is on my Occult Brawler. He is very good at applying poisons. He's very consistent at applying poisons. Let's read. I'm going to read up here on his skills while we're going over this. So his skill 1 has a 60% chance to apply a poison maxed out. Of course, in the Masteries for support, I have a 5% additional chance. So he has a 65% on his skill 1 to apply a 5% poison for 2 turns. It's great for counterattack. It is great for his regular attack. 65% chance is fantastic. Now let's go over his passive. His passive, every turn he will take a 2.5% poison to himself. You see him getting those poisons, right? Right here he's getting a poison on him. Now he has a 70% chance to apply a 5% poison every turn at the start of the turn to an enemy, a 70% chance. I don't know if the 5% additional chance and the support affects it. I think it does because I just noticed it. I don't know. I think it really affects it because it also affects the Masteries in support for the additional time. It's for a 4 turn. So let me read it for you again. So his passive is 70% chance to place a 5% poison debuff on a random enemy for 4 turns at the start of each turn. So I've seen it do 5 turns, which is really cool. If you look up here, to get a 5-turn poison just on a passive is really fantastic. Now let me tell you too, with passives or with anything like Bad Alcazar when he does his dots, or anybody who does a debuff, I should say, without actually hitting the enemy. Somebody like Bad L does 2 poisons and then does 2 heal over times, but there's no damage component. There's no check to see about glancing hits. Same thing with Occult Brawler's passive. Now only his passive, because you're not actually hitting the target. This was the same way in Summoner's Wars, same way in a lot of other games. If you have a move that doesn't actually do damage to the target, it's just doing debuffs, it's only going to do a check for resist and accuracy. It's not going to do a check for glancing hits if you have a weaker affinity. If you have a weaker affinity, you're still going to have a really good chance of applying that because you don't have to worry about glancing hits, which whenever you do a glancing hit in this game, just like all the other games, you do not apply debuffs. So when you have the weaker advantage, that's just something side note, just to think about. So what I've done with him, let's read on his skill 3. So his skill 3 is a 3-turn cooldown once maxed out. Basically what this does is whenever you have debuffs on him, he does additional features, right? Additional things with that one attack that's on a 3-turn cooldown. So I have my Steel Skull gear on him, but it's not really crit damage gear. It's not really DPS gear because it's just survivability gear. It's high defense, high HP, just to survive through the clan boss, to last longer and apply poisons. Of course, with Occult Brawler, when you have 3 debuffs on him for that one skill, he's going to automatically crit. So in that case, you could have additional crit damage just to help him out, but you need survivability in these clan bosses runs, so you always have to make sure your guys are survivable. So first things first, I got to make sure he's survivable. That's how I have him right now. Later builds and later on down the line, I will have it to where he is a more DPS machine but still has survivability. Here's him on the top right over here going through Ice Golems. Just threw him in a team. I had my all rare team in there, so I switched them out. I just picked some people really quick. Didn't even bother going through there. Didn't put Martyr in there, whatever. Just wanted to try him out to see, because here it is. I'm going to read the skill 2. So if he has 1 debuff, he will ignore 30% of the defense. So he's always going to have 1 debuff on him unless somebody just cleansed it, but it wouldn't matter because at the start of his turn, he's going to get that 2.5% poison on himself. So if that skill's up, it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Curse Eater is what it's called. He will always, on that move, ignore 30% defense. Now, all these things only apply to that 3-turn move. So also, with 2 debuffs up, if he kills an enemy, they cannot revive back. So I've got him Ice Golems to try it out. Those moves are so situational. This guy looks like he's only good for clan boss unless I can really get some crazy damage and I go full DPS. Now his damage is based off of attack, so that means we can't make him tanky and do really high damage. So it's a hard, juggling act, balancing act we have to do. Anyways, so If you have 3 debuffs on a skill 2 on a 3-turn cooldown, remember, then he'll automatically crit. So really in 3 turns time, he will always have 3 debuffs as long as they're not cleared, and he'll always critical hit. Now, does that mean that you want to do high critical damage on this guy? Not necessarily, because it's on a 3-turn cooldown. You don't want to go Masteries where you do the 20% additional crit damage. I don't think. I'd rather go War Master, which is what I have on him right now, because he's going to have those other attacks, his normal attacks and his counter attacks, where I want more War Master to proc. I think that is way more important and way more damage than doing a 20% additional crit damage when your crit is so low, and then it's only high and automatic on a 3-turn cooldown with that one ability. So again, I would go War Master for sure. I would not go crit damage unless you're just looking for a one-hit wonder for his skill 2 on, I don't know what content out there. I don't know what, because he's not good for PvP, and he's not good for a lot of dungeons. He can do work. He can even do Dragon's 20, even though he's a weaker affinity. He can put up some poisons. That's fine. If you wanted to put him in there as your poisoner for Dragon's 20, if you're not already blowing through it. And for faction wars, waves-wise, I don't think he's going to be that great. But for bosses, he can be okay. But remember, there is a boss out there in faction wars that takes all the debuffs they have on them, applies them to your people, and then spreads them to everybody. So you got to be careful. He wouldn't be good for that boss necessarily, because you can't even control his debuffs. He's going to do it every turn, has a chance to. So it gets a little bit crazy. So really with Occult Brawler, all you're going to focus on is when he has 1 debuff, which is always. So he's always going to ignore 30% of the defense on his attack for that skill 2 attack on a 3-turn cooldown. And then on that skill as well, if you have 3 debuffs, he's always going to crit, which he should, because you're going through 3 turns. Then he's going to hit, and he's going to automatically crit. So that means that I want to get crit damage on him with survivability. So only that one move can hit a little bit harder. I guess, if you know of really good Occult Brawler builds out there, how are they built for Ultra Clan Boss? How are they? Because believe me, you need survivability. You cannot go into Ultra Clan Boss or even Nightmare Clan Boss and have somebody that's a frail glass cannon. They will die very quickly. So we did 6 million. 6 million on this run. 6.3, and we did 19 million on auto and Ultra Clan Boss. That is okay. I've done 23 million before with Steel Skull here. Depends on how, how often this is going to happen, how reliable this is. That's the word I'm looking for. It depends on how reliable this is on auto. Is it really reliable for me to do Occult Brawler and get higher numbers? And I need to gear him out better, because again, I have Steel Skull's gear on here. I can tell you that his ability to poison is way more consistent than Steel Skull's ability, but we're taking away the ability from Steel Skull, right, to heal. His skill 2 on Steel Skull will heal and remove all debuffs. So you can use Steel Skull as somebody to remove the stun when the clan boss does the stun. That's always available, and he does a big heal. It's not really a heavy heal, but he does an AoE heal and also applies increased defense. So until I can get my Occult Brawler really heavy up there damage wise, up to like Netheral's damage wise, which I don't think it's going to happen, then it's a toss up, because if I didn't have that Bad L healing and helping out removing debuffs, then I would need Steel Skull in there to remove that stun from the clan boss when it does the 1 target hit and stuns that person. I could use it for that. So I don't know yet. Sorry about this. Let me move over to so many secrets. Look at that. Let me move over to this really quick so I don't have to edit this. So here we are. Here is my Occult Brawler. So we've talked about quite a few things with him. Hopefully it's made a little bit of sense. Now that you can see his abilities, here it is. 60% chance, 65 with my support masteries to do a poison whenever he counterattacks even, which is great. And then here's the big one. Here's the big one. But let's go over his passive first. So each turn, at the beginning of the turn, he's going to get the small poison on him for 4 turns. And then 70% chance to apply the 5% poison to a random enemy for 4 turns, which can be 5 turns with my masteries as well sometimes. Really good. He is consistent with applying poisons. Now this one is the one that we want to focus on, which is really cool. With one debuff on, he will always ignore 30% of the enemy's defense. That's all the time. He's always going to have a debuff on. He gets it at the start of his turn. Then he attacks. Boom. So we're going to ignore 30% of the defense. This champion is under 2. Kill somebody. They cannot be revived. Very situational. Unless you can get this to hit super hard, even in Ice Golems, anybody you take in there, even if you take in an E3 Blood Twin who has a passive, they can do this no matter what he does. As long as he kills the enemy, they cannot. It's still so situational on the Ice Golem. It would be better to have that as a debuff, but that's a whole different story. So 3 debuffs on this person, and he attacks, he always critical hits. Again, this is a 3-turn cooldown, so you're going to put a lot of crit damage on this. and only rely on this every three turns. Your crit's not going to be very high for this with that critical damage, so it's kind of a weird trade-off. So I'd like to know how you would build this guy, how you've seen him build out there, or if you play him and get crazy numbers with him, how do you do it? How do you get that extra damage? Because I don't know, I'm just going to have to go crit damage and just see what happens, but keep his survivability up, really up. And then if you have 4, it heals his champion. If you have 5, you take an extra turn. 4 and 5 aren't that big of a deal, especially since I'm running bad L. He's going to clear a lot of times a lot of all my debuffs. So to get that, you'd have to have somebody actually applying more debuffs to him. Maybe in spiders, you could use this as the person, him being attacked, but it's just not, it's not viable, really, to do that. So let's get on to his masteries. So those are his skills. Here is masteries. I'm maxed out on all masteries, but I only did crit damage, more damage, more damage. Went down to War Master, got more things for his accuracy. Evil Eye that doesn't even work on the clan boss, but I got it. 30% chance to extend the debuff. So anytime he does a 2-turn, we get a chance to do 3-turn. Anytime he does a 4-turn passive, he gets a chance to do a 5-turn, which is cool. And then 5% additional on the debuffs, which on his first skill, on his main skill, he has a 60% chance to do it. Now he has a 65% chance to do it. And probably on his passive, with that 70% chance to do his passive, he's probably got a 75% chance to do it then. I think it will affect that, since it's affecting also doing additional turns, since I get 5 instead of 4 sometimes. So I'm hoping it affects that. Anyways, so that is Occult Brawler so far. Those are my first impressions of Occult Brawler. What do I think? I don't know yet if he is that much better than Steel Skull. Steel Skull can do 10 million and over on Nightmare Clan Boss. He can do really good on Ultra Clan Boss. It just depends on your team comp, of course. That is very important. And it really depends on your gear and what you're doing with your gear. So, of course, I need to switch out gear on my whole team. I need to switch out gear for this guy. It's all about gear to get stronger. Once you have those champions, you need the gear to be able to do better, right? Always the gear. So I don't know if this guy is better than Steel Skull yet. I do think he is very more consistent in doing the poisons, putting the poisons on the boss. Even though Steel Skull does 2 times attacks on a skill 1, I feel like, from what I've seen, see, Steel Skull is only, what, 35-40% chance with the support mastery to do it per turn. So that's 40 times 2. It's probably about the same average, I would think. And even on counterattack, you know, Steel Skull has the same thing. So I don't know, but this is really good to remove all debuffs on 3-turn cooldown, and it's a very strong heal. This one is very good as well with the heal. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on Occult Brawler and what you've seen him do crazy damage on Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss, if you've seen it. Because on the regular Clan Boss, I can't really tell, you know, Nightmare Clan Boss, a lot of people can do a lot of damage on that. It's not that hard nowadays if you're in-game, if you are in-game. But that's all I've got for Occult Brawler so far. I will do more testing with him, and I will get the information out to you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you all on the next video.